let's be honest about... Oh, that just hit me in the face. Oh, my no. We're not bleeding. Professional, carry on. Let's be honest about something. Solo wild camping, or just camping, whatever you want to call it, for the very first time can be a terrifying experience. And I know that was the case for me, and we'll discuss my first time camping on my own in a minute. And the frustrating thing is that when a lot of people ask the question, what do I do to get over that fear? The answer they most commonly get is, well, don't go solo wild camping. Find a group of friends, go out with people, go into a Facebook group, find like-minded people and go camping with them for the first time. Well, you know what? Not everybody wants to do that. Not everybody wants to go find a random bunch of strangers on the internet. If you're nervous about solo wild camping, are you not going to make it 10 times worse if you find some random strangers on the internet and decide to go camping in a group with them, knowing absolutely nothing about them, or whether or not any of them might be crazy murderers? And also, not everybody has got friends crazy enough or persuadable enough to go wild camping with you in the first place. So there are good reasons why you might want to get over your fear of solo camping entirely solo, on your own, without any external input from anybody else. And that is what I'm going to chat about in this video. I'm out today with everything I need to discuss the thing that I think is the perfect remedy to this problem, and we're going to discuss it as we climb up that hill over there. Okay, let's discuss my very first solo wild camping experience, and I think it's the perfect way to demonstrate that the idea that all your problems can be solved by going camping with other people first is just not true, because I've been sort of wild camping and camping a little bit on and off since I was a teenager. Maybe like once a year I would go out with some friends, we'd camp in a field, we'd mostly stay up all night and not sleep at all. And then the very first time I went for what I would call a proper wild camp, somewhere actually remote, well, I did that with the perfect person to do such a thing with, a survival instructor friend. So I thought I was well equipped to go solo camping on my own for the very first time, but there's a world of difference between being somewhere with another person and being entirely on your own, because when you're on your own, well, two things happen. One, for me, my brain starts to become more active, starts to think a lot more, and when my brain does that, it starts to imagine a lot more, including imagining things which are not really there. And the other thing is, when you're on your own and you hear a weird noise outside, you can't say, oh, that's Jim. Jim, don't know who Jim is. Jim must be out having a pee, moving around. It's obviously Jim. But when you're on your own, you hear a noise, it's a banshee. It's a completely different experience when you hear a noise and you're on your own and you know there shouldn't be anybody nearby, and you've got a vivid imagination. Well, suddenly, So the first time I wild camped on my own, I decided I wanted the comfort of a forest. I find some people don't like forests, they don't like the trees, but I thought, you know what, perfect place for me. It's sheltered, it's going to be out of the wind, and I won't feel sort of open, vulnerable and exposed the way I might do in a hillside. So I got all set up and it was all fine. And I went into my tent just before sunset, because I don't know, I think I had a nap or something. And when I woke up, it was dark. It was pitch dark outside. And I can remember opening up the zip of the tent, looking out of my head torch, and just suddenly being greeted by these eerie, glowing white skeletons of the trees in the forest plantation just fading off into black. The ones nearest me being like white and almost glowing with the light of my head torch, and then kind of just watching as they faded off into the distance, almost like hearing a hallway of mirrors that goes on to infinity, and my imagination ran riot. I saw something move. It wasn't there, 100% it wasn't there, but I saw something, I saw a movement. It wasn't that I saw an object move, I just saw movement. Totally fictitious, totally made up in my head. I pulled the zip down I was terrified to go back out again. It just, that first experience, it just sent my senses into hyperdrive. Every noise, every crack, every, breeze of the wind over the tops of the trees I heard had me. This is, I know I'm not the only one. I know other people have had this experience. The entire night, my body was shot through with adrenaline. And I had to go up and pee a couple of times, and that was awful. Getting out of the tent, what I did was, I looked at the ground. I knew I couldn't, because every time I looked at the trees, everything's fine, look at the ground, look up tree monster. And that was where my mind went all night, totally on edge, didn't sleep. For all my experience, none of that actually helped when it came to that very first solo camping experience on my own. So, unfortunately, I have to say that's probably going to be the case for just about everybody. The honest truth is, on some level, you will have to accept the fact that at some point, you are going to be scared. At least a little bit. And you just got to be okay with that. Be okay with the fact you're not going to sleep the first night. You're going to hear weird stuff. Recognize it for what it is. It's just fear, it's just irrational fear. They're just noises. Call them out, say what they are, and deal with it. And you're going to be okay. You will be fine. You will be fine. Being scared can actually hurt you. In fact, it's a good indication that you're alive. But there's something else I think everybody should try and do. Top of Arneson Crag! Woo! Okay, so I think step one, or phase one, whatever you want to call it, is just making peace with the fact that you're gonna at least be a little bit scared, but there's some things you can do to minimize that fear. In fact, there's 3 things I think you can do to minimize that fear, and the first one is know your kit. The second one's know your pitch, and the third one is know yourself, and let's talk about that now. So first of all, know your kit. Make sure you know how to pitch your tent, know how to use your cook set, know how to do all of that stuff before you spend the night on your own. The second thing is know your pitch. People ask me all the time, where should I go wild camping? Have you got any good wild camping spots? What about this? Pretty much everywhere I camp, I go in recce, on my own, on a hike, during the day. That way I know what the terrain is like on the way there. That takes away another fear of uncertainty when I'm on my own. I know if the ground's going to be flat, I can sort of have a look and see, is this likely to flood? Is it likely to get wet? Is it squishy? So that takes away another level of nerves, another level of uncertainty. So that's 2 levels we've removed now. And the third one is know yourself, which sounds very pretentious, but I guess what I mean by that is know how you feel when you're on your own. If you've never hiked on your own or done anything on your own before, probably don't go straight into a camp. You want to know how you're going to feel when you're actually out on your own. So what I'm doing today, right now, is something that combines all of those things. I've come to a really quiet spot, no one around, somewhere I might want to camp in the future, and I've brought my tent with me and some of my kit. And I'm going to set it up right now, and I'm going to sit and I'm going to chill here. And that is a really, really good way for you to actually properly test your kit, recce the spot, and get to know yourself. Some people might argue this violates the rules of wild camping, where you pitch late so you're not annoying anybody with your tent. So I wouldn't go and do this in a crowded area. It's a Friday afternoon. I've come somewhere that's really quiet. I haven't seen a single person up here all day. Ideally, you pick somewhere for this first camp that's not too far away from your car. This is only 2 miles away from where I parked. And it's a fairly safe, well-marked trail on the way up here. I have no problems getting down in the dark. So if you wanted to sort of maximize your benefit from this, you would come up and pitch up. Again, as long as it's quiet, round about sunset or before sunset, sit in your tent until it gets dark, get used to how that feels, and then maybe before it gets pitch black, pack up and leave. And you know what? Practice what you preach. This is a new tent. I haven't camped in it before. So this is, and it's not ideal conditions either. So I'm testing this out right now. This is the Durston X Mid 1. It's an ultralight trekking pole tent. This is a very lightweight tent. If I pitched this the wrong way, it would blow into Ullswater. So this is a chance for me to practice pegging this out and pitching it in slightly awkward conditions. Whoa, there's gusts coming through here. It's especially important when you're going camping on your own for the first time that you have a good experience. So I would check the weather forecast. I personally wouldn't advise going camping on your own for the very first time if the wind forecast is anything over 15 miles an hour, which might not seem very windy. You'll get some people just say, oh, that's a light breeze. If you're not used to camping in windy conditions, it's going to feel a lot worse than it is. So the first time you actually do go and camp, pick a quiet day. Sorry, I really didn't sleep well last night. I'm traveling to the National Outdoors Expo this weekend. So last night I slept in my van because I travelled over late, drove to Scotland and then drove down here. So I haven't slept very well. I mean, that's kind of it. Get yourself pitched up. Bring the kit that you're going to use with you. I've got a little camping chair there. I've chucked in a few things. I brought my sleeping bag. You know, open that up, see what it's like. If it's really quiet, have a nap. Inflate your mat, see what that's like. I didn't bring my mat. Bring your cook set with you, your stove. Have a go with that. Practice. And whoa, that DCF is really. Someone warned me that DCF is really loud in wind. And it is, it's really flappy. Again, another reason why you do these proper recce's. If you pitch in your backyard, chances are it's really sheltered and you're not gonna get the full experience. I look like I've just spewed in myself. This is why this ridiculous non-detaching lid is an absolute menace. Because when you drink, it means whatever is currently in that lid then pours down your clothes. I hate these. I know this was like... There we go, thoroughly packed up. Packing up is always a good thing to practice as well. Again, the very first time you pack up when you're out camping, you're gonna realize that, I'm just checking the ground here, make sure I haven't forgotten anything. You're gonna realize that stuff doesn't go back into the bag the way you thought it might. And if the weather's really bad, or it's raining, that's just not gonna be that pleasant, and it's gonna, you know, just be one more little thing that might increase the likelihood you have a negative experience. Like, I guess I could summarize all this advice by what I said. Know your kit, know your tent, know your cook set, know all of that. Know it inside out. Practice with it so there's no question marks in your mind when you come to use it on the day. Know your tent, know what it's like to pitch your tent in different weather conditions, and know your location, and ideally come practice and do a test pitch. You don't have to stay all night. Maybe you sit there for a couple of hours, sit until sunset, sit until it gets dark, and then pack up and walk down. Don't stay overnight. It's just, and yes, if it's an option for you, go and camp with other people to get that experience in. Yeah, go and camp in a campsite. That can be a good place to practice with your kit as well, but none of those things will properly prepare you for what it's completely like to be out on your own. So you're just doing as many things as possible to try and minimize any potential like background nerves or background uncertainty, because if you've got a lot of that and you've been stressed out, and then when it comes to night, your mind is already going to be racing and you're more likely to start hearing things and feel scared. So the better the experience you have before it comes to sleeping that night, the better your first wild camping experience is going to go. And so that's my advice. Let me know if you think it's good advice. Let me know if you have any other top tips that we could add to the bunch, and I'm gonna just have the rest of this hike for myself. I'm gonna enjoy this hike back down the hill. Thanks for watching, and maybe I will have seen some of you at the expo. Bye bye.